Also has a lot of white people. Midnight Mass has a lot of white people. Actually, that's not true. It's a very diverse cast of characters.
Shockingly diverse for how poor and desolate the town is.
Well, have you heard of woke? Because that's what woke is.
That's what it is.
Have you ever heard of DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Is that what that one girl in the wheelchair was?
Absolutely. Crippled and black and a woman.
Yeah, right. There's just like a big alarm down at the headquarters. Like, we found one.
The purge alarm.
I don't think this is how Kayla wants us.
Welcome, Kayla, to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Kaylin.
I'm Michael. And this is Kayla. Say hi, Kayla.
Hello.
She's been here before. She was on here recently.
You might have seen her recently. You're either going to need to get closer to your microphone or speak up.
No one's ever seen me.
Well,
to be fair, I'm a woman of the. Wait, no, that's a prostitute.
Yeah, a woman of
the night.
Woman of the shadows. Like, more so what I meant to say.
No, that's Batgirl, obviously.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Cat woman.
Batgirl. Okay.
All right, so we've gathered here today.
Wow, pulling out the old scripts, huh?
To speak about
God.
the show that won the 2021 award for Netflix limited series with the most yapping. It's Midnight Mass.
Monologues.
We're talking a lot. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you guys this off top because this is my third time rewatching the show. And let me tell you, I was just not in the mood to be rewatching the show at this current moment. And there's no show that's good to watch when you're not in the mood. So when I'm making fun of the show, which I will be doing, it's not because I dislike it. It's just because of like the unique circumstances with which I watched it. I think it's a great show. And I'm telling this to Kaylan because he's already told me in text he's planted his flag as this is one of my favorite things ever. So when I'm joking, we're not taking it personally. I actually am on your side. I like this show.
Why are you so crabby?
No, well, okay, first off. I'm not.
Who hurt you?
Okay, so what I was going to compare this show to, Midnight Mass. If you don't know, we're talking about Midnight Mass, Netflix limited series. So, have you ever, and there's one person in particular that I dated briefly that I think about.
Okay.
I have.
That I think about when I mention this. Have you ever had someone in your life that just tells really long stories and they like keep like the stories never seem to end, and as they're telling these stories you just kind of like phase out of your body involuntarily and then you like come back and they're still telling the story? That's kind of what watching this show felt like for me. And you know, I don't know if you guys can relate to that experience.
Yeah, that person in my life is me. So, I also leave my body as I'm talking, and it just keeps going.
Or it's like talking to a parent that's lecturing you, kind of, or like a teacher, where you're just like, okay, get to the point kind of thing. I get
Turns
you.
into the Charlie Brown, like, wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
in the background.
For
as
sure.
You, like, are like,
It's like when you're 30 minutes into a, lecture in college, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, what was the middle step to that problem?
And I got to write a paper?
Yeah, you're like, shoot, when's the due date?
Yeah.
That happened a couple times during this. The priest loves to chat.
they're chatty guys.
I mean, that's what priests do.
I don't know, I'm Lutheran.
Oh, I mean, any church, the pastor talks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, preachers do their preaching. But every character in this movie at some point has a moment where they're like, blah, 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 blah. That reminds me of a story of this time that I was at this place and I did this thing and this thing happened and then that thing happened. And there's just a lot of recollecting old things and connecting them. Like the sheriff talking about how he became disillusioned with the NYPD because they hated Muslims.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
felt like that was important, though.
No, that's the thing. It's all important.
it's all important.
Yeah.
It's all important. They just all speak in really, like, the script has to be like page-long paragraphs and then response.
Well, that's what
often.
I was when I was texting you. I was like, how does someone even begin to write this? And that's one of the strengths of this series, is that it's so dense in just dialogue and character development. And Kayla has written down a lot of notes, it seems like. And that's actually, Kayla, before I get into kind of my thoughts about it, I want to know what you thought because you were a first-time viewer.
Well, read my first note.
Priest talks too much.
That's my first. That's what I was showing Michael. I loved it. I cried multiple times. I do have critiques though, so I
Sure.
think I have everything. I finally have like something to contribute for every single
Great.
little subsection.
Sweet.
I'm here to work for Mikey.
Well, this is exam day, so get ready.
Let's go.
Okay, so my thoughts. Midnight Mass. I first watched this when it originally dropped. This is a Mike Flanagan joint. We know Mike Flanagan from Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. He did Oculus, the film. I don't know if you've ever seen Oculus. Good film. He also did another film,
Ouija 2.
Ouija 2, which is, I guess, pretty good as well. He did Doctor Sleep, which is a sequel to The Shining. It's about the kid from The Shining, growed up, and he goes through these kind of like weird adventures. And I've never seen that, but I'll watch it sometime. Midnight Mass, it's a lot. I think we can all agree on that. It's a mini series, and it's not as long as people think. I think people think it's a lot longer just due to the dialogue and just the amount of talking that goes on. But I love pretty much every second of this series. It's the closest thing I can think of to like probably a masterpiece. There's just so much depth, and I've said this before, so much depth to all the characters, and everybody gets a moment. And the scare factor, and this is the thing with Mike Flanagan, is that essentially this is horror. But the horror comes from the characters and more so the reality of just life in general and the horrible things that we go through and do to each other, and the paranormal stuff is kind of sidelined or in the background. The big thing with Haunting of Hill House was like, people were like, oh, there's ghosts in the background, look in this scene, there's ghosts here, ghosts there. That's not really the point of his shows, though. It's always about the characters at heart. And I think what shines with him the most is just like being able to flesh out these characters as human and just relating to things that we all relate to. And like, yeah, I'm going on about it, but I really, really love it. And I told Michael, it's probably one of my favorite pieces of media ever. It's just brilliant from start to finish. So
I have a question. What camp are you in? Are you Haunting of Hill House or Bly Manor people?
I'm Bly Manor, more so.
Me as well, and I feel like that's the minority.
Yeah, well, because people liked Haunting of Hill House for the scary stuff, the spooky stuff, but people don't realize is that that's not the point of any of it. And the same with Bly Manor, the critiques were it wasn't scary enough, but it's not the point. It's a love story.
I thought it was pretty scary myself.
I mean, it has scary moments, but that's not the focal point. The focal point is these characters and the things that they go through and the trauma from their past, all culminating into the story of finding love again, basically. And Midnight Mass is very similar, where it's a man who loves his people so much at the expense of like rational thinking.
Yeah,
You know?
I think it's redemption over love.
Yeah.
You know, like love in the form of redemption instead of love in the like romantic sense, which is different.
Right.
I mean, there is romance, but I don't think that is like the key takeaway from it.
Sure.
It's definitely, I mean, the big theme is religion. Part of the reason
Absolutely.
Kaylin recommended it to me is it's heavy on religious themes. This island in particular is Catholic, but even if you're not actually Catholic, I think if you were raised religiously, especially like Christian in any form, you can probably relate pretty well to it. It's funny, just personally, that Riley, our primary character's dad, looks and dresses a lot like my dad did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And his mom kind of looks like my mom too. So it's just he's also maybe a little emotionally distant like my dad was.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were going to say like you.
Oh, well, like father, like son.
Right.
But so it hits me very personally, especially the first time I watched it.
And growing up in a conservative household, you know, with those values. And like, I remember there's a scene where Riley is like, oh, I don't know how I feel about God and I'm not going to church. And his dad is like, no, I don't care how you feel about God. You're going to church tomorrow. And I definitely have had that conversation with my dad before. So, yeah.
But you're not taking communion. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, it's like, yeah. Then you have the argument where it's like, why would I take communion if I don't fully have faith?
But that's weird Catholic shit.
Yeah.
And Lutherans were like, everyone up.
Catholicism is a lot more
is
a lot more traditional than like your modern Christianity kind of thing. And so that's what this is all about, basically. Catholicism.
Shall we move on to the performance test where we talk about our favorite actors, scenes, characters, and moments?
It was the performance of a lifetime.
I want to shout out Hamish Linklater. He plays Father Paul, and he's basically one of the protagonists / antagonists of these series. Kayla pointed out that the priest talks too much, and yes, he does. But I also think he pretty much eats every scene he's in. He's wonderful in this, and I haven't seen him in much else. I know he's been in a few films, done some other stuff, but he just has this kind of like draw to his character where you just kind of want to hear him speak more. At least I did, and it kind of correlates with how most of the people in the town see him as well, because they're very infatuated with him, and just his presence is kind of otherworldly, and people really take to him. And I kind of felt the same when I was watching him.
Yeah, I think there's a particular message he gives before the night before the final midnight mass. He gives his like real fire and brimstone speech where he's like, "We're the army of God, and we're going to take up the sword," or whatever. That seems like a real moment that he shines, and also just his sit downs with Riley in the rec center.
Yeah.
All up till Riley's turn are all like really good.
Yeah, they're really good. That's a big strength, I think.
I mean, a lot of those scenes are strictly for Riley, our like atheist, to directly address a bunch of his like qualms and issues with Catholicism, with the way he was raised.
I killed someone. So who's to blame there? I am to blame there. God. But he just kind of let it happen, didn't he? See, that's the part I cannot square. Because you're right, there's so much suffering in the world. So much. And then there's this higher power. This higher power who could erase all that pain, just wave his hand and make it all go away, but doesn't? No. No, thank you. The worst part is that it lets all the rest of us off the hook. We can all just stand by and watch Lisa Scarborough wheel herself around town. We can watch Joe Collie slowly drink himself to death. We can watch so many people just slip into these bottomless pits of awful, and we can stand it. We can tolerate it because we can say things like God works in mysterious ways. Like there's a plan, like something good's gonna come out of it. Nothing good came out of my drinking. Nothing good came out of me killing that poor girl. Nothing good came out of Joe Colley's drinking, and not a single good thing comes out of Lisa never being able to walk again. Nothing good came out of a metric ton of crude oil filling up the bay. And the only fucking thing that lets people stand by watching all this suffering doing fucking nothing is the idea that suffering can be a gift from God. What a monstrous idea, Father.
Which is also wild because Riley it's not just like ooh, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. It's like, I killed somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's not,
He's seen the ugliness of the world.
Right. He has blood on his hands.
Yeah.
Like, he's not just this, like, I lost faith in God to me. It's like, I lost faith in God because I did something bad.
bad.
Which I think is a really interesting character take.
Yes.
It's not the Like usually it's like I did something bad, so then I found God, or something bad happened to me, so then I lost God. But this was I lost God. I guess we don't really know if it's because, but I think it's kind of implied that it's like that was maybe the last straw, or like a really final pushing thing where it's like,
absolutely,
God's not on my side. It's like, well,
right.
you killed somebody.
Right.
So like.
Well, I think also too, he leans into like the randomness of the universe kind of thing, where it's just like we're all a series of numbers and things happen, and I happen to be one of those things, kind of, because that's his whole kind of like explanation for what religion is. It was a bunch of cavemen looking up to the sky and seeing other campfires in the sky, which were stars, and trying to explain that a little bit. And
I mean, really, the opening scene is Riley praying on the side of his like drunken car wreck where he'd killed this girl that haunts his dreams later into the show, and the cop says, while you're praying, why don't you ask God why he
spares the drunk assholes?
Why he kills the little girls and lets the drunk fucks like you walk away, basically.
Yeah.
So he's a man. Riley is. Now we moved on to Riley, played by Zach Gilford, is just a man really racked with guilt. Mm-hmm. A lot of the first half of this show is like him walking around with his hands in his pockets, being like, "This fucking town.
Yeah.
These people." All this.
But I also get that. Like, I'm from a small town. I mean, you guys don't have this, but like, it's hard to go back and like be different than what you were when you were small.
Yeah.
And there's tension in that because people kind of don't expect you to change.
And those places never really change either.
No,
That's
it's
the thing.
so weird. It's like the biggest change my town went through was we got a Subway back in like 2005.
Yeah.
That was like
welcome to the first world.
Yeah, seriously.
That's the only fast food we have in the entire town. We don't have a single stoplight in my town.
Yeah.
Do you have a Casey's general store?
No.
Damn.
We have Pat's Market.
Pat's Market.
That's where you get your meat.
So like a local, like a family-owned kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And so with this town, I think the biggest thing for them to happen was, number one, the church is a big factor in the town. It's kind of its local government almost. Also, there was an oil spill that happened, and it should be said that this town is on an island, and so most of the townsfolk, especially the men, are fishermen, and so their whole income is based on whether they catch fish or not. And so there's an oil spill that happened. A lot of people were unable to catch anything, and so people ended up moving away. And so what's left are the people that stayed, and the town is in decline. But yeah, I want to go back to Hamish Linklater real quick, because there's this scene I really loved. It was when we are finally introduced to our horror element, which is I don't know if I want to spoil the whole thing, but might as well.
Before we spoil it, we recommend it. Midnight Mass is great. I think it's best seen if you don't know and like what angle the horror is coming from, because I think like one of the strongest aspects of this show is how it intertwines its religious themes and its horror idea so finely and smartly. But you go ahead and spoil it now.
So essentially the monster it's never really fully explained, but it's obviously a vampire of some sorts, which he happens to stumble upon when he is making a trek as his older self, because there's this whole thing with the vampire's blood where it turns you younger. But Monsignor Pruitt is his real name, and he went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, to the Wailing Wall, and he has dementia, so he ended up stumbling into the desert, getting lost, and during a sandstorm, which unearthed a like old tomb, and he went inside, and there's this great monologue of him just kind of explaining what happened to him, and it's so eerie and beautiful the way he speaks and tells a story, and a vampire comes out of the darkness, but he sees it as an angel, and that's partially due to his dementia, which is like causing him to kind of like just be unaware of his surroundings and what he's thinking or doing. And this creature comes out, and he ends up somehow getting this creature into a box and bringing it back to the island. That's never really explained.
That they kind of yada that. I mean, the reason he believes this is also like based on biblical things. You know, every run-in where a human meets an angel, they are sore afraid, and they find them terrifying when they see them. And he found this winged beast to be terrifying, and it did a miracle where it seemed to
gave him the blood of life.
Yeah, and it returned him back to his youthful state. So he believes that this is an angel of God. And I think the real trick of this show is how well the vampire and familiar dynamic mirrors like angel and prophet, or like, God and prophet. So like he is one and the same. He is both in his head. Like he doesn't realize he's both. He thinks he's a prophet of God. Yeah. But I mean, they're both like this otherworldly, extra powerful being, and he is, below it doing its bidding.
Eyes and skin and hands, but also wings. A sense of great wings enfolding him. And his mind finally found the word. The word was unearthed by his fear, like the tomb was unearthed by the storm, and the word was angel. Angel. And he was sore afraid.
Well, I think that's a really powerful statement, because the line is constantly so thin between, I think, saint, sinner, prophet versus false prophet. And I actually, last weekend, before I started Midnight Mass, I was on like a documentary kick, and I read something called Escaping Twin Flame. And there's currently a cult, and they'll deny that they're a cult, but there's currently a massive online cult in America. And it's like absolutely wild just watching the progression, because they had like these tapes and they had online meetings, so they were like recorded and released. And it's wild to watch the people who like first join the group, and it's kind of like a con game. And I don't even know if the con artists know that they're going to be as big as they are, right? It's just a couple people who are paying money to learn about a twin flame. Like they want to find their soulmate. And so like these two hippie gurus are like, we're going to help you heal yourself so that you can like find whatever. Well, it blows up to the point where they have too many women and not enough men. So they start talking about the divine masculine and feminine and forcing people to become transgender essentially. So it's like super it's awful. But I found a weird parallel to that of just like, there's people alive today that like believe that there are people that are prophets. So like, how are they different from those of us who like believe in Jesus, or like me who also believes in like crystals and witchcraft and shit? Yeah. It's like, where's the line? I could also pay a ton of money to join like an accidental online cult. Yeah. It's wild.
And how easily people are manipulated by like shiny things, where it's like in this, the shiny thing is the miracles that happen, and people are instantly drawn to it, and you can notice that, and it's commented on many times in the show how more people show up to the church when these things happen. The seats are filled constantly every Sunday, and that's important, because that's a big thing that happens in society, where it's very much a social commentary on just how we live in general, not only just religion, but with politics, all types of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I think what Midnight Mass does so well is that it's an unbiased approach to all of these things. So you have people of the Muslim faith, you have Christianity, you have Catholicism, then you have atheism, and all of these things are presented, and each person is able to give their side to it without an unbiased, without a biased voice coming in and telling them, no, you're wrong, I'm right, kind of thing.
Bev
there's
does it a lot.
that. There are characters that are like that, but that's also showing the flaws in that ideology. But it's also, as far as like the storyteller goes, he's presenting this as an unbiased approach, which is like all these people are they're able to just talk to each other, and that's what I really loved about the scene with Riley and what's her name? I call her Teeth Lady. She's got very nice teeth.
Erin.
Yeah, she's great, but she's Christian or Catholic or whatever, and she share a moment together talking about death. It's very beautiful. It's probably the culmination of the show. This is when things really the themes start showing, and just two people talking. And it's like a normal conversation almost. I mean, obviously it's a little bit more exaggerated, but I mean, these are conversations I've had with myself for sure. Just regarding religion and just our place in the universe, and why am I here and what's going to happen to me when I die. It's just beautiful. And I think it was like, it's able to paint this picture and allow people to speak in a way I've never really seen before in films or television. And I think it's powerful. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's meaningful that someone from every religious background was part of the herodom, right? Like, I think it would have been really easy to paint Christians as like the bad guy, but like there were many townfolk who fought against what was happening, right? So that was something that I liked, not just because I'm Christian and I'm like, I don't want to be painted in a bad light, but like I just liked that there was no winning side, I guess. Right. It was just like,
at the end of the day, it's people.
And you felt sympathy, like with the ending of it too, like you felt sympathy for the victims as well. It wasn't like just, except for Bev. Bev can fuck off. But like.
But even with her, you see her, like she was scared to die at the end. I
don't care. I wanted her to die worse.
She is an awful character. And shout out to the actress that plays Bev.
I got it because you know who else she plays? Perfect Penny. Now let me tell you about Perfect Penny. It's Samantha Sloan is the actor. Perfect Penny is a character in Grey's Anatomy. Spoiler alert for like season 8, which is quite 12 seasons ago, but I think it's season 8 at least. She kills Derek Shepherd.
No,
she doesn't. She doesn't order a C scan, and he dies. And then she gets invited to a dinner party, and Meredith freaks out at her because she was dating Calliope. It was like a whole thing, but she's like really easy to hate. So I've never seen her play a good character, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think one thing about actor can never make you hate them. I think they're doing their job, and I think they're doing it right.
Yeah.
Hate them in the way like their character is, not their personal.
She
aspect.
has the smiling condescension of your average like middle-aged Christian woman. Maybe not your average, but like the worst of them.
Your Karens of the world.
You know, that she just has this way of being like, oh, I think you're shit, but I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to smile, and I'm going to make you feel like shit by the way that I talk to you. The holier than thou attitude, like when the sheriff, there's a little like PTO meeting or whatever at the school, and the sheriff's like, I don't have a problem with my son reading the Bible. I have a problem that you've distributed it at the school. And she is incredible at dancing around that idea and, twisting his words and making it seem like they're having a conversation that they're not.
Well, when he throws it back at her, like, if I was to bring the Quran and start passing that around, you would have a problem with that. And like, that's Christians, you know what I mean? Like, that's certain Christians. Well, that's like a conversation. It's so real, man. Like,
and there is a thing with Christians, the holier than thou, and it's ironic because, like, no matter whether they entertain that or like behave like that, there is an element of holier than thou, like inherent to being religious. Yes. You're like kind of saying like, I have the keys to the. To the cabinet, I have the answers, and you might not if you're, the heathen. But there are ones that can carry that with like dignity and grace, like the Riley's parents.
They are like, even like my own mother is like that.
Yes, I was gonna go with characters, but shout out your mom too.
Is this the point of the podcast where I bring up my dad?
Yeah, everybody talk about how wonderful your parents are.
Yeah.
Bestie.
Yeah.
Make Michael feel bad.
But well, now I'm backtracked from my point. I don't remember what I was saying, but like there are Christians that act holier than thou, and then there are like the true Christians, which would be like Aaron Green, and which would be like Riley's parents.
It's true faith,
or even to an extent, the Father Paul.
Yes,
he comes back around eventually, and he has his like, "What have I done? This isn't what I."
Imagined
I've walked down the wrong path basically, right. And he realizes his wrongs by the end of the story. Whereas Bev King, most of these people they find a way to die with dignity because double spoiler alert, just about everyone dies at the end of the movie, at the end of the show. Bev Keane is like literally screaming and screeching and trying to bury herself in the sand so she doesn't burst into flames as the sun comes over the horizon.
Yes. It should be said that Father Paul he's been handing out communion, which consists of like vampire blood, basically, and secretly turning everybody into vampires. People who take the communion, to fully transition into a vampire, you have to die. Mm-hmm. And then once you die, you are resurrected again. And then he obviously uses that as a catalyst for the religious
In episode 6, there's the final midnight mass, because they start holding mass at midnight because he starts...
he can't go out in the
daytime. He can't go out in the daytime. And they have they're basically shout out to the Heaven's Gate cult, the drink the poison punch people, because they have their Heaven's Gate cult moment where they're drink the elixir, die and become renewed, and they do, some of them, and then the ones that don't go and tear apart the whole town in their ravenous vampire hunger. I
must say, what an ending! Great ending.
It's a slow burn, and let's say that escalated quickly. You know.
It's like a true fire, though, like a house fire, right? It's the kitchen stove was left on. It's kind of sitting, it's simmering, and now the curtain caught on fire. And now the whole place is ablaze. Yeah. It's pretty fast. Yeah. So I do think it's kind of funny because this reminded me of True Grit it was less hokey, though, having the hymnals as the background, when Aaron Green... who is the character that is Riley's love interest. She's pregnant. She loses the baby because vampire blood attacks the fetus because she's pregnancy is kind of being unwell, correct? It looks like a foreign body. Yeah. And so she loses the baby, and that's kind of her arc. And when she's dying, she's replaying having this conversation, the conversation Kaylin brought up about what happens to us after death. And as they're having this replayed conversation that's also tweaked as if she's still having the conversation in the present time, they're playing Were You There, which is a Lenten hymn. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful and haunting. When I sing that in real life, I tend to cry because it's just you usually sing it on Good Friday. Mm-hmm. It's Were You There When You Crucified My Lord? And there's no lyrics, but it's just this soft violin. It's really moving and really profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And her demise is closure to the arc that she starts before the death conversation, where she talks about being with her abusive mother, and how I think she had chickens or something.
She had turtle doves.
And she said their mom was having her clip the wings, and she was one of them, she hated doing it, but she was her mom was everybody gets their wings clipped at some time in life because her mom's
she was mine were clipped when you were born or whatever.
Yeah. And so at the end, well, in the conversation, Aaron says, and then one time, the dove, I was holding it and I could feel that it trusted me, and I just let it go. I let it go out the window. Mom smacked me. Things went left after that, but I chose to do the right thing. And then she seals that arc at the end when the vampire is eating her, and she's pinned against the ground, and she has the knife in her hand, and she just starts clipping the vampire's wings. She starts stabbing holes in his wings, and holds it there to keep eating and feasting so she can finish the job and save everyone.
Which also represents the abusive relationship she's had with her ex-lovers, or I think the father of her child, her unborn child. He was very abusive to her, and that's the same type of aspect. He's just eating away at her, and but she does it for those she loves. So she allows it to happen for those she loves. There's plenty of other people in this. I want to shout out a few characters before we move on. The girl in the wheelchair is fantastic. She has a scene with what is the drunk guy's name?
Joe Colley.
Joe Colley, and it's one of the most gut-wrenching scenes in the entire show, where she's confronting him, and it's just, oh my god, it's acted so masterfully.
I hate you. Honesty is important, so we'll start there. I hate you, Joe Colley. I have hated you for years, and the things I've imagined doing to you, I want you to hurt. I want you to suffer. I want you to make those noises my dad made when he put his hand over the bullet hole in my spine. I want you to beg for my forgiveness so that I can tell you no. I want you to live in complete, absolute misery. So when I say this place is just like I pictured it, what I really mean is it's just like I hoped it would be.
I'm sorry.
Damn right you're sorry!
So, for background context, Joe Colley shot Lisa during a hunting accident that may not have been a true accident. You're shaking your head.
No, I agree. I was just gonna say, yeah, it was like he wasn't hunting. He was
probably
walking around
drunk,
with his
popping
gun.
his gun off.
Yeah, but it was like at the end of hunting season, so there was like, my understanding was there was like an excuse, but no one really believed it type of deal.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he kind of could run free, right? Like, I don't know if he necessarily did time for it.
Yeah.
It's not really explained, but he holds guilt towards her, and it's very obvious to see in their previous interactions. But she is able to walk again because she's been paralyzed by this gunshot wound, wheelchair bound, or she's a wheelchair user. And then she's able to walk again because of the vampire blood. And so then she has this confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the little touch at the end when everybody dies and their voices cut out and they're like wondering if the vampire died too. And then she's like, I can't feel my legs or whatever. And that's kind of like an indicator that the vampire didn't make it, because I guess it's some kind of symbiotic thing where as long as the vampire is alive, the blood stays pumping kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just like that little touch.
And the
nice.
Joe Colley interaction is the most, and I mean this as a compliment. There's many monologues in the show, but is the most like lights up, put the spotlight on me.
Yeah.
I'm delivering this monologue at you, and it starts with like, I hate you, Joe Colley, and I hate you for this reason and this reason. And she goes like, you reached through time and stole memories that I hadn't even made yet with the shot that you made.
Yeah.
That was dialogue right there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was dialogue.
Powerful stuff. Yeah.
Mike Flanagan had rent due.
No, seriously. You know, this was a passion project for him. There was have you ever seen the film Gerald's Game?
He's dipping his feather into the ink fountain.
Yeah. He's got the wig on and stuff.
In the eye of a hurricane, there is Clyde.
No, there's like references to in his other works to Midnight Mass before Midnight Mass even came out. So I think he had been trying to work on this for a long time. So definitely you can tell there's passion in this. Yeah, Joe Colley is just a great character. You know where else we see this actor in?
The Robert Longstreet is the actor.
Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
Which
He's the older version of the boy that gets spared outside the school.
Yeah, and he's the father of the boyfriend of the main girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's also a rogue agent in Judas and the Black Messiah. He's like one of the
Yes,
the
he is.
henchmen.
Great actor. I mean, he was fantastic in this, and his death was the one that I was like, oh, come on, man, that's fucked up.
Not
like,
Joe, not the most relatable person in this whole show.
Yeah.
The alcoholic. I guess I'm snitching on myself, but I mean, he's the most relatable person in my opinion.
He was just so real, and like,
Hey, buddy.
Michael, we need to talk after this, but
This is too raw after Liam Payne's death yesterday as a former directioner, so now I'm worried about you. Please don't go falling off of the third
I'm not an
story
alcoholic. But he's just, this is one of the things. I'm not an alcoholic. Watch me finish this beer.
But the butt was crazy. Like, oh, okay.
yeah, Joe's death was fucked up, and especially it was like right at the cusp of him wanting to change his life, and
Because he starts showing up at Riley's AA meetings. Riley goes to AA meetings with the pastor because he's, after his drunk driving accident, these are court mandated.
it's a wonderful scene of him and Riley just walking and
Yes.
talking.
Oh.
Such a great scene.
I was like, oh, things are turning around, and that's like really when shit
starts hitting the fan.
And it's like, fuck.
Yeah. It's like the only nice moment for the next like 4 hours.
Also, Joe undergoes. I texted you when this happened. There's so much animal death you did not give me a warning about.
R.I.P. Spike, R.I.P. to cats.
Yeah.
But him crying over his dog, I was actively like crying on
Yeah.
the couch. I was so unwell
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And it comes out of nowhere because we're at like the county fair basically.
But
like,
it's
there's
Bev's
some-
fault.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some
she poisoned them.
There's some like church luncheon that everyone's at, and yeah,
I just love the foreshadowing though with the
Crock-pot or something?
crock pot, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it's called Crockett, the island.
Oh, and Nice.
Yeah. But great foreshadowing just with like the poison, which is used in the final Midnight Mass. And yeah. Other great characters, just a lot of the townsfolk. I really like the mayor. He was just like this. I don't know. He was just kind of like a henchman towards the end, but he ended up like before. So he was just like kind of the voice of reason. He was very passionate about the church and stuff. He didn't want to hear a lot of outside opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Sturge and Bev already have like a vampire and familiar relationship because Sturge, Bev's husband, seems like
that's her husband.
Yeah,
I did not catch that.
I'm pretty sure that's her husband.
I thought it was just a guy that worked at the.
I'm pretty sure they're
on
married.
the ferry or the church or whatever.
No, they're
oh,
married.
Interesting.
The way he seems like sometimes he has a conscience, but the way he just yes ma'ams his way through the whole fucking show until the end.
You guys, I just pulled up a picture of the actor who plays the angel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Why he's kind of cute though.
He looks regular, like a regular
He
dude.
looks like a regular little guy, little man.
Sturge has a good moment at the end with one of the douchebag kid or whatever, the altar boy, where he's like, I did a lot of bad things tonight, and the kid is like, I think I killed my mom, and he was like, yeah, I did some bad things too, and they just walk off together and they share a moment. It was just like little touches like that. It's just like everybody gets a little moment, and it's great.
Was the kid Ooker?
Ooker?
Is that the?
No, he had like Timothy Chalamet here.
He's the Ooker.
Yeah, him. Yeah. He's got a funny face.
Shout out to Rahul Kohli as the sheriff.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
He is a Mike Flanagan regular. He was also in Bly Manor.
I will say I lost track at the very end, and Michael kind of roasted me about it because I went to bed with one episode left. But I started watching it too late was the issue, and then I watched the last episode, and I kind of had lost track. I was like, who is this girl that the priest is standing by? And I didn't realize that it was the dementia mom.
Yeah.
But, like, it's things like that do... It's kind of hard. Like, I'm in between you both. Because although I don't necessarily agree that Mike Flanagan doesn't allow for silence, there is so much dialogue that I think you can get... If you do get distracted and you start playing Block Jam 3D on your phone, you might miss some like vital pieces.
Right, for sure. And I think, that's the thing about this. Is like it's a television show. Not many television shows do this, where it's like just constant. Like you're just following these characters and listening to them. That's been the biggest critique of the show, I believe.
Yeah, it's the rhythms of it specifically. Because like a Tarantino movie is going to have a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of dialogue. And certainly they have their moments where they monologue. But it's a lot of like snappy back and forth. Do you know what they call a Royale with cheese in France?
Yeah.
And this show, it's like every other time a person opens their mouth, it's like buckle up because they're going to be talking for the next 4 to 7 minutes.
Well, I think here's the thing: like this couldn't be a film, not at all. It could be a book, sure. Yeah, I forget where my point was.
Or I think in different hands, the proportions would be entirely different because I do think the thing that this show, I think to its credit, or makes it a good Netflix show, is it's really good at hanging on that like clickbaity next moment at the end of each episode where it's like, what happened next? You know, like Riley bursts into flames at the end of episode 4 or whatever. Yeah, you gotta watch that next one. That's a big twist, and it's very good at like giving you those moments at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
But just the rhythms of the dialogue is sometimes I'm like fucking.
No, I mean I agree with. I agree.
They're gonna talk a lot now.
Yeah.
And it's always the priest, though. Like, he has I think my thing about the priest is he has one too many monologues. Like, I'm not even saying he needs one. What?
I don't agree with you guys at all. I don't agree.
It's just
He's the best character in the show.
Yeah, I agree.
His whole thing, like, that's his whole thing. Like, he is the shepherd. He has to speak to his flock. Like, that's the whole point. I'm sorry. I definitely I respect you guys' opinions, but you guys are wrong about that. I'm sorry.
I do like his like sermons, like any pulpit monologue, but it's more of the like, well, Riley, I already told you this at yesterday's AA meeting, but let me talk about it again.
The moment where my eyes started rolling back into my head is in the very final episode was my breaking point, where like after all the bloodbath had happened and he like reawakens after getting shot in the head, and a dementia lady is there in her younger form, no longer having dementia, and he starts going, this reminds me of when I was a teenager.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God. Like,
okay, maybe not the time or place. I get that. Also, I didn't really like the dementia lady. I felt nothing for her character. She was kind of a bad actress. I didn't, at least as the old lady, she wasn't good.
My issue is, and this is maybe just a me thing or me being very plugged into movies and movie making thing, but as soon as I saw her, the first time I watched the show, and I didn't know what the twist would be, but I was like, that is a young woman in old lady makeup.
Yes. If I have critiques about this show, the old makeup is not good.
They are doing that for a reason. Yeah. At some point, we are rewinding back in time. Like, at some point, she'll be young again, or there'll be a massive, like, flashback where she's a massive character or something. But for some reason, this old lady is a young lady in old lady makeup, and that's kind of like
I felt
tipping
like
your hand a little bit.
You could definitely find older actors for that part and still make it convincing.
Or just cast two different actors and switch them.
Yeah,
at some point.
I don't really understand the point of that, but maybe.
Well, so I had a similar critique about the makeup, and I don't know how I felt about the acting. I don't necessarily know if I would condemn it, but I think the bigger issue for me was there was too fast of a jump between dementia and lucidity. Like all of a sudden one day she's like, oh, I remember things now. Like it wasn't like slowly gaining the memory back. It was just like, oh, it's gone.
There was also like no shock about it. Like, why am I like a young person again?
Yeah.
And people in the town were just like, oh, okay, it's a miracle. Yeah. And nobody was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Wheelchair Girl got a lot of attention as things changed, but it seems like everyone's just kind of like, the old lady's young again. Oh, well. Real like facts of life just don't even address it.
I mean, yeah, this is good. I like this. Here's the thing. This is fine.
This is what you say just before you melt down.
No. I'm good. I'm saying like, okay, fuck the segments. We're kind of just talking about everything because there's no way you can do. There's no way you can do segments for this. Okay, we're gonna just let the hate flow through.
It's an art, bro.
All things. It's an art. What are you trying to say? We went through some of the themes, different things. Went through some of the actors.
I'm sorry, Kayla. I told you it wasn't warm in here because it's now warm in here.
Because I bring the heat.
You guys say warm, so weird.
Warm?
White people are. You guys are weird.
Warm.
You just said warm.
Warm.
Whoa.
What do you call
Kaylin,
a thing that you sail on?
I say warm. Huh?
What do you call a thing that you sail on?
Say long?
Sail on.
Sail on a boat. Do you say ship?
No, a boat.
A boat?
It's a butt.
It is a butt.
Anyways.
Do you guys say bag
butt.
or big?
Big.
Stop it. Do you say bagel or bagel?
Bagel.
Okay, so that you're not making any sense.
No, that's consistency. Bagel.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, but most like people who say
Now you're
big
making it
and
worse
like
'cause I'm thinking
and warm say bagel.
Bagel.
Yeah, you guys. I don't know. You guys are weird.
Give me a bag for my groceries.
They only had one grocery store at this
It's
in this
so
town.
warm.
This movie had the show had no bagels, but a lot of crackers. You know what I'm saying? Kaylin liked that one.
I don't feel like I can laugh at those jokes.
You can't laugh at a cracker joke?
I feel like I can't laugh at any joke at the expense of a race because I'm...
It's okay. Live a little, Kayla.
Because I said the hard R?
Whoa.
No.
He did say that hard.
Why
he didn't say cracker. He said cracker.
On the day of mourning. It's my day of mourning.
All right.
I'm sorry.
We apologize.
I'm sorry. We'll cut the whole cracker segment.
You can do whatever. It's your podcast.
So-
just if I get canceled one day, I'm coming for your neck.
I want to talk
Little
about.
chicken neck.
Oh, sorry. You guys done?
No, we're done.
I'm playing. I'm kidding.
Whoa.
I'm kidding. Do you guys? How did you guys like the atmosphere of the show?
I hated it.
The feet, like the. Whoa. Okay. All right.
She's trolling you.
Your face was so funny.
This is why I don't show you guys things I like.
This is like
Last time I showed you guys the thing I liked
Super
with
Broly. That was bad though.
Dragon Ball Super Broly.
It was bad.
Stop
okay.
it.
What would you prefer? 60 minutes of dudes punching or 60 minutes of dudes talking? Choose your fighter. His power level is almost 9,000.
Frieza. General.
Where? My vampiric body ate my baby.
It did have a lot of Twilight parallels. I appreciated that.
You guys feel good?
Do you remember,
Sorry, Kayla.
Kaylin, is your favorite part that the vampire likes to play dress-up games? Good boy.
Okay, that's a little goofy. But okay, so let's talk about the vampire, because the vampire is a big aspect of the show.
He's tall, too.
He is very tall, very imposing. It's implied that it's intelligent and that it speaks multiple languages. And that it must have been sealed up in some ancient times, and it somehow it must have recognized his, because Father Paul like put up his fingers in like the the thing that Jesus does or whatever. It's like the Catholic symbol of Jesus, and he's holding up his two fingers or whatever, but it's showing the wounds.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, the vampire must have recognized that, and it was like, "Oh, I'm going to manipulate the shit out of this guy, and I'm going to get him to take me to a place where I can eat."
Do you think the vampire was intelligent?
Yes, absolutely.
I think your key evidence is when he puts on a golden chasuble, a bit of a nice, holy robe.
Yeah, he was like walking down the aisle.
Walks down the aisle calmly.
Yeah.
And just kind of stares at everyone while they all take their death punch. Poison.
Yep, I'm there. So I have a question for you that I thought about. Let's say your parents are bringing you to church. It's Christmas Eve. And that happens. Mm-hmm. I think I would have drank the wine. Like, I think I would have been manipulated. I think I would have been convinced. If you would have honestly seen that creature in that form, being like, remember that God said an angel's terrifying and this is an angel. Yeah. Like, I think I'd be like, okay.
Give me the punch, buddy.
Give me a little juicy. Give me a little juicy juice. Like, I feel like it'd be hard to be like, no, that's not.
If you think about the sheriff's like son, where he was like,
that was tragic.
He was Muslim, and then he was really interested in the church, and like he converted in that moment. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of people would do. Mm-hmm. And I asked myself, like, would I do that? Because I feel like I have a good bullshit radar. Maybe not for everything, but for things involving like that kind of stuff, I think. But I don't know.
I think my issue is I do believe in like the paranormal. So I feel like if I would see it, I wouldn't be so shocked that it exists, but I would be questioning what it is. But I was curious about Michael, who doesn't believe in anything, except for certain.
Not accurate.
He's not a nihilist.
What do you mean?
He's like,
these boys are nihilists. They don't believe in anything.
Why are you making me sound like Trump?
No, that's Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just think I wouldn't qualify as I don't believe in anything. That feels like that's Christian propaganda against people who are atheists.
Okay. That's not even
I'm not even really atheist. I guess I'm agnostic.
Would you say you believe in science?
I also believe in science.
I always feel like you are judging me just because I only believe in science.
Nacho Libre.
But he doesn't believe in ghosties.
In that scenario, if I think about my childhood self, I probably would have drank that punch. I probably would have drank that poison because I think I would have been fully ingrained in the whole situation.
He's a product of Zach Baggiest.
Right now, no. I would have been like, I don't know what the hell this creature is, but that guy didn't seem like he was having a good time when he was spitting blood out of his mouth. You know,
see, that's rational. Thank you, Michael.
Whatever he's up to now, he's got this weird glint in his eye. He's looking at me funny. I don't want to be like him.
That's what we call critical thinking, my friend, and that's good.
This guy looks like one of the synths from Blade Runner right now.
Okay, but this back to that point though is like in times of that pure ornate fear, like you lose critical thinking.
It's very primal, yeah.
right?
well,
Like you want to survive by.
So that goes back to themes of the show, where it's like religion. Where did religion come from? Riley explained it as the fear of the unknown, the fear of not having purpose, kind of thing. Where it's like we explain all these things. We look at the sun and we're like, oh my God, that must be a god, because it's so powerful and bright, and it shines light on the day, you know, and everything. That explains everything. It explains why we do things as humans, because we are afraid and we don't know anything, and we try to explain things the best we can by our own interpretations and by human eyes. And so that's why we have so much conflict in the world.
Can I just take a left turn down a different subject?
Sure.
I just want to shout out a beautiful scene. It's when Riley's mom confronts Bev during the whole turning. It's in the final episode. And she's like, Bev, God doesn't love you more than he loves anyone else. Why does that bother you so much?
Yeah.
He loves Riley, even though he is, you know, he did make those mistakes in his past. He loves everyone, not just you. When she spent this whole movie using, like, this whole show, I keep calling it a movie, using, you know, her faith as a cudgel to, like, beat everyone down, to other the sheriff, to, you know, beat down the people she doesn't like.
Yeah.
And that's, like, the most honest, again, like Kayla was saying, this show doesn't take any sides. It shows shitty Christians, and it also shows, like, the good and helpful ones, and it doesn't seem to come down on the side of, like, faith.
Yeah, the beauty of faith,
Yeah, it comes down pro-faith, whatever form that takes, I would say.
And anti-faith, though, I think, too. Like,
yeah. I think it's just showing that we're all humans, and we're all on the same pursuit of happiness, and whether or not you choose to be a Muslim or a Christian, if you are living in a way that's not at the expense of others, I think that's just fine.
Well, like, I'm a universal salvationist, so, like, my personal belief is that a hell does not exist, or if it does, we're not going there anyways. Like, what I kind of learned in my 20s and what really, like, solidified, I think, Christianity after doubting it for a while was, like, I refused to believe in a God who would create just to destroy. And so, where was I going with that, bro?
It's okay.
Something about Bevy. Little old Bevy.
Little old Bevy.
Yeah.
And how she just, like, she cons her way through everything. And there's even some animosity towards Monsignor Pruitt as well, where she sees him as, like, he's in the position that she wants to be. And due to the faith, she can't be in that position because she's a woman. Right?
Yeah.
So there's some of that, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of depth to her character.
I mean, she craves the faith as a source of power for her to hold over other people.
Yeah.
You know?
I remembered my connection.
Go
so,
ahead.
like, the idea of universal salvation, too, or, like, my own personal take on it is, like, everyone is right. Like, every religion is right in its way. And that doesn't condemn you. But what is wrong is when we use those ideas to harm others, right? And I'm not saying that even doing that would cause you to go to, like, hell or whatever, but I think for me, something that I really struggled with is, like, what makes me more right than, like, someone who practices Islam, right? I mean, we also worship the same literal God.
Yeah.
It's just like it's an argument over prophets, right? So it's like, that's something that I appreciated about this show was everyone was kind of right at the end. Like, even Bev.
Yeah.
But she's condemned by the viewer because of how she treated others.
Exactly. The movie, The Book of Eli, kind of touches on this as well, with just the idea of what the Bible is, and it's like the most powerful weapon in the world is what they refer it to.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, this show builds Bev up as this hateable person that, like, she literally gets shot just for monologuing, which everyone's done this whole show. At the end, she's about to launch off into another one, and Aaron's like, "Pow, not tonight."
About the time or place,
that was
baby.
really funny, actually.
There's like 3 jokes this whole show. It's when Joe refers to the rec center as, like, Bev King's money laundering magical bitch emporium. And when Bull, the guy that gets the weed dealer who gets killed in like episode 2 by the vampire, his mom is in the sheriff's office and she's like, Bull, his name's Billy. At least they didn't call him Bong.
Also, with Joe, he kept calling the sheriff Sharif, and it was a little racist, but it was kind of hilarious.
It was endearingly racist. He respects him. He's just being a little racist.
But yeah.
Which
I mean, that's small town values right there. Kayla, imagine your small town got a Muslim sheriff.
they wouldn't know what to do.
They would burn him on
He
the spot.
would be hanged.
I'm saying.
No, seriously.
I'm not even kidding. Like, that's...
Are you saying you live in a sundown town?
Oh, could I go to your town and be safe?
If you're with me...
Okay. Well, then I'm going to
Damn.
stay out of that town.
It's gotten better. I'll give it some pros. But, like, I remember growing up and... there was not a lot of diversity, but there's this homeless man who cross-dressed, and we don't know where he came from, and we don't know where he went, but it was just this man that walked around cross-dressing, and the things people said and did to that man, like, even as a child, I remember being like, why does it really matter?
Yeah.
They're like, he's gonna hurt the children. It's like, he's like not well.
Well, that sounds like a group of people that we know and love today.
Wow, sounds like 40% of the U.S.
They wear red hats, and yeah,
Right. I mean,
no, literally.
again, welcome to my hometown.
I'm gonna go to
Not in my hometown. You don't come over here trying to burn down the whole
On-
city
on the
like some
highway,
George Floyd bullshit.
There's this like crazy guy so in between our town and like a neighboring town who was like a competitor, like school wise and stuff, there's a lot of like cross pollination, a lot of people dated, a lot of people married between my town and that town. But on the highway to get there, if you can call it a highway, there's this guy who has this like massive shed, and he writes like the most hateful messages on the side of the shed. It's like, Trump wants like freedom for all white Christians, anyone else themselves. It's like, Jesus
He's probably a
Christ.
miserable son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a budding social life, and
like-
everybody loves him.
People are like, why do you hate coming home so much? It's like, because people like that live there.
yeah.
Like, I don't, in whatever, like...
It's the bucket of crabs scenario, where it's like when you try to get out, there's things that just pull you back in, and that's why a lot of people leave those places. If I ever go to your town, I'm going to go up to somebody and ask them, hey, where's Kayla's house? I'm going to be like, back the way you came. Shh.
Well, I live out in the country, so...
You didn't get my joke.
I did, but I'm saying, like...
Don't tell her what she got,
Okay, sorry.
Kaylin.
Sorry.
I got it. Well, here's the thing. If you said that, everyone would know where my house is.
Okay. Well, they would try to kick me out of the town.
Right there over
I don't know
yonder,
if
and
they
then
would.
spit at your feet. Over yon.
Over yon.
I will say, like, I have thought if I were to date someone who was not white, I'm very curious what would happen. I think that things have gotten better. I think it would be fine, but I think a couple years ago it may not have been.
I think maybe they would change from saying rude things to your face to saying snickety things behind your lap.
They say snickety things behind my back anyway.
And it could possibly involve a cross and fire and white hoods.
I mean, when I came out as bi, I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And I know, like, there's been little bits of chitty chatter, and that's fine. Let it happen.
Fuck them is what I say, right?
I live in Whoa. St. Petersburg, Russia.
Oh, Russia. Oh, well, that
That's-
explains
That
everything.
explains everything you've been spouting here.
My
Your
God.
woke politics.
I just don't want to give my address away
No,
on the
no.
internet.
It's all good.
I live at 8002 48 Go Fuck Yourself Street.
Oh,
Well, there you go. 48 Racist Ave.
Minneapolis, where they burned down the 3rd precinct.
They're burning their own businesses.
Do you know that we're still on fire? I don't know if people know this, but I'm looking out Michael's window right now that I see a fire.
Oh,
but you
ass
have to
is
look
hot.
over the mountain of heroin needles to see the fire.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
Okay. let's wrap this up.
That's what's on fire, actually.
Yeah.
It's just a
bunch of heroin needles. That's fucked.
Hey.
That is so fucked. Let's wrap this up, shall we?
With the whole thing?
Yeah, we pretty much.
We haven't even talked about the drip.
Oh, drip check.
Drip check. Let's talk about the vampire once again.
Boy. Okay, first off, he was in the nude. So, I mean, guy with confidence. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, he was just letting it hang.
Am I right, ladies?
But then he sport the nice trench coat with the hat.
Is that a third leg?
The trench coat.
That's a third wing right there, buddy.
And he was really just going for like an evening stroll on the beach during a howling like windstorm. And he said, "Do you know what the perfect accoutrement for this trip is? It's a nice top hat."
He also sported the golden garb of the priest on for whatever they're supposed to wear that for.
And flexed his wings, but just for a moment.
Yeah, and we were like, "Damn, son, she." And he was looking good, bro. Can't lie. Also, like a lot of blue jeans.
Yeah,
a lot of blue jeans, a lot of boots. Our main lady, she was wearing a lot of long dresses.
Aaron Green, lots of long dresses.
You know, she's married to Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, Kate Siegel, married to Mike Flanagan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hence why they're always in each other's. Well, she's always in the shows.
In his stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of waspy glasses.
You remember when the one lady stopped needing glasses, and then the man was like, "Hey, my back doesn't hurt anymore," and then they were like, "You wanna?"
They're like, "After we dance, you wanna get busy?" And they did that. The priest had that little white thing on his neck.
I have a story about that thing. So, growing up in the small town that I did out in the country, I have a church that kind of has like no address, like my house kind of does. Like there's an address, but it doesn't make sense. It's like you're in this town, but you're not actually in the town.
Yeah.
It's like because it straddled 3 different like towns or like whatever. So it's in the middle of nowhere is what I'm trying to say. And there's the like the sanctuary. So we like provide a house for the pastors to stay in because like it's in the middle of nowhere. So I used to have 2 pastors that were married and they would like alternate. They were both pastors and they had 3 girls. And sometimes I would babysit for the 3 girls. And one time I was feeding the baby with what I thought was a baby spoon, putting it in like pureed carrots. No, it was the little collar thingy that the pastors wear.
That's great.
And I dirtied their collar thing.
He had to get a new one.
He did. He had to wash it. And I was just sitting there feeding a child with a...
I think that child was blessed that
I was
day
like a
forward.
5th grader. So like to be fair, I probably shouldn't have been watching 3 children.
You should have been bitten by a vampire, I think. Because that was just not... That was over the line.
I'm condemned.
You are condemned. That child got blessed. So, is this a perfect TV show? I would say yes. You guys would probably disagree with me.
Is this a thing we're gonna do for the show?
I don't know. I'm just saying. No, I'm just asking this question.
I feel like I struggle with the perfect rating again. Like, I just feel like perfect means there's no flaws, but that's not true. I think it's really, really good. If perfect can still have flaws, then yes, I think it's perfect.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I do not think that perfect in our estimation equals flawless. Those aren't necessarily one and the same. I would go ahead and say it. I do actually like this show. I've shit talked it several times during this thing, but it is a really good show. Certainly the first couple times I watched it, really engrossing. I enjoyed like coming back to it after watching it the first time. But I did not enjoy coming back.
Coming to it. And I almost started laughing. Sorry.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
It was the vampire.
Got Twilight flashbacks there, buddy. Sorry, continue.
All right, which vamp would you choose? Edward Cullen or
Or
Mr. Wingy Boy?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
okay, well, I mean, one's more of a beefcake than the other. Certainly.
So you're picking Wingy Boy?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just stating pros and cons.
Oh, Robert Pat.
Edward Cullen. We don't know how old he is. I assume they're both
He's 102.
in the centuries.
He's 102.
Okay.
They explain that in the movie, Michael.
They do.
Okay. I guess we're going Ed. Big Ed.
I'm sorry I cut you off earlier. I won't ever do it again.
It's a good show. There you go.
I agree. Kayla?
Yeah, it's good. My concern is I don't know if I would rewatch it though, because for me, horror, like I like to be scared, and I don't know if I would be scared again. I was scared this time. I'll give you that. I don't think I would be scared again, knowing kind of how dumb the vampire looks. Once you see it, once it kind of comes to light, I'm like, eh.
That's fair. I mean,
and I know it's not about the spooks, but like,
yeah.
why else watch
I mean, that
it?
part is important too.
Hey, you know what scene's great? And the first time I watched this, I thought it was cheap that especially the first couple episodes just end with like kind of loud music and him staring into space at the like ghostly body of the girl he killed in the car accident. Upon rewatch, I'm like, this is totally fair. It haunts his dreams. Every time he goes to bed, he sees the ghost in his dreams, and then he has his boat dream, which intersects with the middle of this show. And on a show that has a multitude of beautiful moments, the moment where he dies, and then the like ghost of the girl reaches across and kind of like invites him to the other side of the boat as he dies is one of those spine-tingling, great idea, great execution moments of the show.
For sure. I agree.
So there's many things to recommend. We've spoiled a lot of them if you haven't seen the show, but you should just watch the show.
And hopefully you get the premise, because we kind of talked about all of it forwards and backwards and side to side. So
as long as you get something out of it, and we always talk about, especially Kayla, this comes up as a theme where it changes your biology. You shed tears for it.
Theme for me, isn't it?
And it makes you feel, and I think that's special. And it's not something that's easily done, because there's many things that are like this that can't do it. So shouts out to Mike Flanagan. He has many series on Netflix. His newest one was Fall of the House of Usher, which is Edgar Allan Poe inspired thing about the Raven. Very good. Please check out his other works, his films as well. I just think it's important for people like him who actually have passion and a vision to get more work. So support his stuff.
Also a big guy in Letterboxd. Follow us on Letterboxd. And Mike Flanagan. He has his own Letterboxd where he leaves his own reviews.
Well, all right.
I don't have one, but I was told recently I should get one.
You should get one. It's a good site.
Probably because I'm really funny and people want more of my content.
That's what they say.
Yep.
That's what all our feedback says whenever you're on.
I've looked at the comments and there's never comments about me. If you're listening to this, please leave me a comment, even if it's negative. All publicity is good publicity.
We'll definitely respond.
Usually
Let me
the
know
comments.
if I should do ASMR.
She's petting it.
Making me fall asleep over here.
Okay. Well,
Do you have the tingles?
Yes.
No,
just playing.
so that's the end of our episode today. Thank you for coming to our Midnight Mass discussion. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Kaylin.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you, viewers.
This is like our little AA meeting. My name's Michael. I watched Midnight Mass and now I'm sad.
My name's Kayla. Liam Payne is dead and now I'm sad.
My name's Kayla, and fuck you all. Good night.
Whoa.
Jingle bells. Okay.
Sorry.
That was mean.
Why are you so
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I wasn't saying fuck you to you guys. I was saying fuck you to
To the listeners?
No, to the racists in her town, obviously.
Oh. We need to like put a billboard up in our town that's just like a QR code that scans to our podcast to this episode.
I know
So they
it's a
can know
joke,
we're
but I
talking
have
about
like
'em.
anxiety right now.
We could probably do that.
Okay,
for
sorry.
not
No,
a
it's
lot of money.
okay.
We don't mean to trigger you.
Put it right across
You're
from
not
the guy
trying, it's
that
fine.
writes all the nice messages for everyone to read
Yeah, there you go.
on his barn or whatever.
Meow, meow, meow.
Not a show for cat lovers.
Yeah. Oh, are we getting back into it? We said bye.
The cats died. Good night.
Jesus Christ.
End it.
Please do.
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!